Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really cracking open some sources focused entirely on biblical prophecy, specifically those final moments, leading up to the last trumpet.
That's right. We've got some fascinating material here.
And our mission really is to wrestle with a pretty demanding question these texts throw at us. If you aren't living a prepared life right now, according to the Word, does hearing that final trumpet, well, does it even matter? Is it meaningless?
Yeah, and what's interesting is how the source material immediately pivots. It kind of pushes away from just abstract guessing about the future.
Right.
It insists the focus has got to be squarely on daily readiness.
Yeah.
Like today.
Yeah.
And it grounds this whole argument in things like the Great Tribulation from Revelation 11, framing it all in what they call chronological biblical history.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. There's a core contrast here that jumped out at me. The critique of, let's say, modern faith is incredibly sharp in these sources. It points out how many churches, or maybe just believers generally, sort of preach or expect a life of worldly blessings. If you believe, you'll prosper, you'll do better than the world.
And that idea just completely clashes with the biblical view presented here. The life of a true believer, and they cite texts like John 16.33, is actually meant to involve tribulation, suffering even.
Suffering as the default.
Pretty much. If you connect the dots in these sources, the argument is that the faithful are supposed to be like an outcast, living as sojourners here on earth. Their focus, their priority, is entirely on the eternal home, heaven.
That sounds intense.
It is intense, yeah. It fundamentally flips what blessed means. Here, blessed means being insulted, maybe persecuted, for Jesus' sake. That's seen as the blessed state.
So the first big takeaway seems to be, real faith, according to these sources, isn't about chasing worldly comfort. It's about embracing suffering, almost.
Embracing it as part of the path, yes. And this leads straight into a really critical point they make about certain kinds of evangelism, the kind that focuses on that vain hope of prosperity.
Wow, right, the dangers of that.
Exactly. The material warns that this can just stimulate greed, pure greed. It even gives these, devastating examples, especially among poorer communities.
Like what?
Like encouraging people to take out loans, big loans, for donations because they're hoping for some instantaneous reversal without money. It's presented as this reckless gamble with offerings.
Wow, like Ananias and Sapphira territory.
Precisely. That's the parallel drawn.
Yeah.
And the consequence, potential family collapse, it's treated very, very seriously.
Okay, so if believers are meant to be these suffering sojourners, what should they be doing during this time of tribulation? The sources mention God having this heart of anxiety, wanting to save every last soul.
Yeah, that concept of God's agonizing heart is central. And this is where the idea of the two witnesses comes in, but maybe not how you typically think of it.
How so? Not just two specific prophets.
No, the sources argue it's more of a universal calling for all believers until the very end. Until that seventh trumpet blows, every single believer is essentially part of that collective witness.
So we are the witnesses.
That's the idea. We're the people who have to proclaim, to convey God's sincere, almost agonizing anxiety to save, as they put it, even one more soul, right up to the last second.
So the mission isn't finding a safe place to hide out the tribulation.
Not at all. It's about actively preaching Jesus, teaching others how to live by his words in every part of life, not just, church on Sunday.
That active role makes sense then, leading up to the climax of seventh trumpet. Revelation 11, that's the big one, the definitive last trumpet.
That's the marker, yes.
Yeah.
And the sources describe this instant shift. Suddenly, loud voices in heaven declare, the kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ.
And that triggered
Judgment. The beginning of the great separation, sorting the wheat from the weeds, as the saying goes. And it also marks the rapture, where the saints are moved, brought into God's presence, across that sea of glass mixed with fire.
Okay, wow. So tying this all together, this intense picture, what does it demand from you? Day to day, the sources bring up that parable, right? The 10 virgins.
Yes, Matthew 25. It's a crucial analogy here. You remember, all 10 waited for the bridegroom. All 10 even fell asleep waiting.
But only 5 got in.
Exactly. And the difference wasn't that they stayed awake. It was preparation. The 5 wise virgins had their lamps fully filled with oil.
And the oil symbolizes.
The source material is clear. It symbolizes a wholly prepared attitude in daily life. Their priorities were aligned with God's day in, day out. The 5 foolish ones, they lacked that constant daily readiness. So when the call came, they couldn't enter the feast.
It really comes back to that daily readiness, doesn't it? Not just future gazing.
Absolutely. Which leads to the final provocative thought from these texts. You're finite. We all are. We could face our own personal judgment any day, maybe even long before that final trumpet sounds globally. So the challenge is pretty stark. Are you truly living that prepared life today? Setting priorities according to that sojourner's mindset? Or is it more like just imitating religion, maybe in a service once a week, hoping for comfort now rather than preparing for eternity? It really makes you think.